allow me to give the floor to Mr. Liu Xiaoyun, who is an expert in poverty reduction. And we know for sure that China uplifted more than 800 million people out of abject poverty and has eliminated abject poverty as a social phenomenon. This is truly remarkable. I think if there is any real achievement in modern history, this is the real achievement. And I think not only the Chinese people, but mankind should be really taking great pride in this unimaginable achievement. So, Mr. Li,
thank you.
Hear your views on this.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for the CCG to invite me here to join this very interesting discussion. I just like to offer my my analysis on the issue of. But actually, we have to link. We have to link the issue of common prosperity with poverty, because the reduce poverty and the eradicate absolute poverty. I put this in the two terms. Reduce poverty always exists, so we need to reduce, but we need absolutely completely eradicate absolute poverty. So to eradicate absolute poverty is the first and the most critical element to persuade common prosperity in the future. So this is the process, and I like to use this opportunity to provide you the little bit insight how the absolute poverty in China has been eradicated. And if you look for that, is two lessons. That's two lessons for through this process. And number one, and I see it's just Victor said, we don't have to argue the remarkable achievement that China has achieved in this field. We don't have to argue, and within China and outside China. So we have consensus for this. And the lesson I would see for the global development, we should see that the first and the link with China's growth model. And China's growth model linked with its nature of growth, not only in terms of economic measure, but also in terms of who benefits most from that process. And if you look at the whole process of China's growth, and then we have divided three stages. First, with the agricultural driven during the 1980s, and towards the middle of 1980s, end of 1970s to middle of 1980s, and during that time, and 85% of population lived in rural area, and 36 to 40% of GDP derived from accounted significantly for the whole economy. But today, only less 7%. And therefore, the first, and during that first stage of growth, and the farmers' income increased 17% over 6 years. The agriculture grew at 6 to 7% for 7 years. And it's the highest in China's history, highest. So this means the first initial stage of the growth already become proper. It's very important. Otherwise, growth always decoupled with the poverty. Secondly, followed agricultural productivity increase and immediately rural industry. Rural industry in China we call township rural enterprises, 乡镇企业. Rural industry, and the farmers come out from agriculture, engaging in the industry, but not in the urban area, not in the city, and follow the massive industrialization and the urbanization. So moving people for 500 million people moving out of the rural areas. So as Victor said, today we have also, less 30% of the around 30% of the people living in the rural area, but actually actually engaging with the agriculture population, engaging with the agriculture population, it's only less 20%, less 20. So great transformation within 40 years. And with 40 years great transformation, and the farmer, that benefited from the transformation process, they get income. So that is the first lesson I would say, and it is relevant to other developing countries. Very important, you're looking for the growth must be proper. And that's very different from the model. We look for the Nordic model for distributive model. So China, we're looking for common prosperity. We're looking for the poverty reduction. We have to look for the growth, as also Victor mentioned, and also others mentioned that we need big cake. And in 1978, our average GDP per capita in US dollar on 158. So if we take nominal price today, and we, China's GDP per capita increased 100 times in nominal price, not in real price, in nominal price. And in real price, it's also many times. So that is the very important foundation for us to persuade common prosperity. And the second lesson I like to see the inequality. 1978, Gini coefficient in China was only 0.2. It's very equal position, but very poor position. And when the economy started to grow, and the inequality increased. So inequality increased to the level of 0.47 during the first part of this century, means around 2010, 2011, very high. So inequality. Therefore, China had to deal with a double challenge. One is to still need to reduce poverty, absolute poverty, and eradicate absolute poverty at the same time to deal with inequality. It's very difficult. Very difficult. It's not very easy. So we cannot either rely on, as we did before, that economic growth. So trickle down mechanism is no longer, there. And the secondly, we cannot also use Nordic model to redistribute to everybody, can't do it. Therefore, we had a combined approach called the developmental approach. Developmental approach means we're dealing with people at the same time for economic growth and support for the economic growth. At the same time, we look for relevance lessons we learned from Nordic social welfare state, the welfare system from Germany and from Europe. So I was during that process to learn a lot from the Nordic experiences, including pension system, everything. I don't need to mention any longer. But here I like to say, for the redistributive model, tax and the transfer are but only part of the story, because only depending on the transfer, the tax and the transfer, still not enough. Why? Because the rich social services does not only mean money. So you give money, you subsidize students in the school, but school need buildings, school need everything, school need infrastructure, need water, everything. Therefore, the improved social services is not just about budgeting through treasury, the budgeting looking for the education, teaching quality, but it still is within the overarching issue of development. Means that you need a huge budget to support other areas like roads, school buildings, materials, teaching qualities, many, and also the nutrition, like the breakfast, the lunch, breakfast, nutrition, everything. Therefore, China adopted what I call the multi-party partnership. So look for what we did in equality and the Eastern and the Western development partnership, 东西协作. So in addition to the transfer, increasing tax transfer to the social protection system. So we have also the private partnership, private business support poor areas, and we have also government institutions like universities, like my university, we have a responsibility for one county in Yunnan. And for many people who are not really familiar with this university, you are teaching, you are doing research, you can't do this, work. So we have all this social responsibility to use our capacity financially. We need to contribute every year 3 million RMB to the county we actually put into the partnership officially, and we need to send our professors and students there to do the social services, everything. So you see the partnership program, comprehensive multi-partnership program plus this one, looking for the. So these two lessons, I just like to add to your presentations and your information, and to give a little bit in-depth information to understand how China dealing with the absolute poverty as well as dealing with inequality economically and socially. And I don't have to mention lastly to say that politically, and as Madam Ma said, and this is the work which look at the UK case, 100 years, you reached, and look for the Norwegian case there, if I'm, correctly, and it's also more than 100 years, and we have dealt with this complicated and very complex problem, social, economic, political problem within 40 years. It is very difficult. This requires a very, very strong and accountable leadership and the government, political commitment and political institutions. So thank you very much for this. Yeah.
Yeah.